Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the NSF webinar series, our March call. This is Ron Seaver. I'm the president of the National Sports Forum, and I wanted to welcome you all to our first webinar of the post-forum year. We had a webinar in January. We took February off to go do the forum up in Portland. And now we're back March. Every month we'll be focusing on a different topic. This month our focus is on marketing, one of our core pillars of the forum, and I think you're really going to enjoy this one. The title is Building Your Brand, Top Marketing Strategies to Watch for in 2016. And as we were just getting ready for the call, it was great fun with our three panelists who are going to be here, all of whom had a very prominent role at the National Sports Forum last month in Portland. I know we've got a lot of folks. I think I heard we have about 120 folks on the line. So a welcome to everybody. If you are a first-timer and you're wondering how you've stumbled into here, this is something we started about a year or so ago, a monthly webinar. It's just part of the forum family, if you would, where we focus on a different topic every month. Could be on sponsorship sales, ticket sales, marketing, social media, management, hiring, all kinds of things that we talk about at the forum. And each month we like to carve out a special focus, if you would. And this month, of course, is on marketing. We're joined, most of the people who are on the call are from either sports properties or sports teams, but I know we have some sponsors and agencies on here as well. Looking at the roster today, U.S. and Canada are well represented, not only listeners but also as speakers. We're going to have three great speakers for you. I've seen their slides, and this is going to be a great hour for you. We're going to try to keep it as close to an hour as we can. If you have any questions, there's a little box on your screen you're going to see down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen where you can type in any questions, and Albie Abelos, who is our producer for today's show, will come and let us know. I'll ask Albie if there's any questions, and he can shoot them out for the people specifically. And with that said, those are the ground rules. We would just ask you to take lots of notes, hopefully, and if you enjoy it, let us know. And if you don't enjoy it, well, let us know that too. But we hope you'll definitely have a great time with it and join us again next month. But today, let me first introduce all three of our speakers. Tanya Dreesen, who is the Vice President of Partnership Activation and Special Projects for the Minnesota Vikings, is going to be our first speaker. And she'll be followed by Evan Karasik, the President and Founder of Channel One Media. And then leading our cleanup hitter, if you would be Eric Sudol, Vice President of Corporate Partnership, Sales, and Service for the Dallas Cowboys, who is going to be talking about a new program, a new building, a new structure, new compound, if you would, that they're building down in the Dallas-Fort Worth market that he spoke about as a breakout session, and the room was packed. It was a fascinating session. But we're going to lead off actually with our hosts from next year. For those of you who will be joining us next February, we're taking the forum, dress warmly, you guys. We are going to the frozen tundra. Now, I won't say that because Tanya will tell me that it's probably 80 degrees and sunny in Minnesota today. So, but we're going to Minneapolis. We're going to go to Minneapolis-St. Paul, and one of our featured attractions, as you might imagine, is the soon-to-be-opened new stadium that we're going to hear a little bit from Tanya about, and she's going to let us know some of the marketing things and initiatives that they are doing there. So without further ado, let me introduce our very first panelist. As I mentioned, it's Tanya Dreesen. She is originally from Canada, so we have two Canadians and one U.S. So Eric, I'm sorry, but you're in the minority on this call today. But Tanya was, if you were at the forum last month, she was on Molly Mazzolini's breakout session, the Brand Integration Blueprint. Just really did a phenomenal job. And as I mentioned, she is a Toronto native. Just recently came over to the United States after she had gotten married. Her background is actually not in sports, but she originally started in newspaper. Very focused on newspaper, and probably before she's done, she'll probably be focused back in media again, as she likes it. But she loved how sports, helped shape the thought processes of what was going on in each community. And as she migrated from after college, she went to work for the Sun, and then the Toronto Star, and then eventually, as I mentioned, she got married, moved down here to the United States, and went to work. And as I said, she moved to the Vikings in 2009 as a corporate sales manager, got very involved, obviously, with the Vikings, and then was part of the pitching program to launch the 2018 Super Bowl that will be coming up to the Vikings' new stadium coming up here very shortly. So she's somebody that has really brought a whole new idea and thought process to the Vikings organization, and you're going to see it in all of the culture that you're going to see in the new U.S. Bank Stadium. So without further ado, if I may, let me turn this over, and please let me welcome Tanya Dreesen from the Vikings, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ron. I don't deserve that type of introduction, but thank you. You know, really, what I'm about to show you, though, is not necessarily my ideas. It's the ideas that were born of our team here that we have at the Vikings. We have an incredible team that also has a diverse background, from sports to athletes themselves to fabrication side and construction side. So it's really allowed us to be able to tackle this new build. But then we've got other partners on board that have really made our lives easier and helped us make some really good decisions, like GMR or Infinite Scale. Infinite Scale has been our right hand throughout this construction build, and has helped us as we turn these sponsorships into activation, and we make them come alive inside the stadium. So what I'm going to show you today is really the story of multiple people and what they've done to create U.S. Bank Stadium pretty special. So let me begin. Really, where we start on this page here is what's the model, who do we need to be mindful of, and what's coming up at the stadium that we need to be able to convert to, or that we need to be able to activate as well at. So naturally, the number one tenant in the building is the Vikings, but our home name is U.S. Bank Stadium. And so we have to be very mindful of our naming rights partner, U.S. Bank, but also our founding partners, which you'll see on another slide. We've got 8 of them. But then what's going to be happening in the stadium besides our games, and we already know that we have the 2018 Super Bowl, 2019 Final Four, Luke Bryan, and just announced today Metallica will be the first 2 concerts played at the stadium. And so as we're developing these partnerships and we're activating them, we need to have all of those events top of mind. You know, and I want to say too that Eric at the Cowboys and his team, as well as Allie Toole with the 49ers and her team, have been incredible confidants for us because they've been through this. They've both opened a new stadium and hosted a Super Bowl. And so we've leaned on them a lot to tell us what they would do more of or less of. So I want to make sure that I give a good shout out to them because they've been amazing friends and peers through this process and helped us make some of these good decisions. And so back to this is what we're thinking about. Now when we look at the stadium itself, we've gone through quite a change. For those of you that have been here in Minnesota or are in Minnesota, you will recognize this map. And so the gray line on this map represents the original Metrodome footprint. And for those of you that are not from Minnesota, just remind you that we are building this stadium on the current land that our old stadium was on. So we didn't have a situation like the 49ers where they were moving their stadium 35 miles or so from their original home. This was built right on the same land. We did, though, rotate the field 90 degrees, and so our end zones now run east-west as opposed to north-south like they did originally. So quite a difference in size. In terms of footprint, the stadium itself is moving from about 850,000 square feet to 1.75 million square feet, so double the size, almost double of its original home. In terms of what's going on inside the stadium, capacity, we have moved from 64,000 to just a titch more, which is 66,000. And for Super Bowl, you can go back, sorry, I'll say a couple more things on that one. And for Super Bowl, we are expanding to just 70,000. And the reason for that expansion being, that number being so low is because, as you'll hear in a little bit, we have a lot of premium seating in the stadium. And if you do the math and what we can charge for some of the premium seating seats, it allowed us to stay at a smaller number like 70 because we will naturally charge more for some of the tickets for Super Bowl as opposed to going larger with more traditional seating. We have seats that are located right on the field, seats that are just simply 41 feet from the sideline, and so that will yield a different ticket price. Inside, though, the stadium, we are growing from We had about 400 restrooms. We'll be just shy of 1,000. In terms of points of sale, with concessions, we're moving from around 300 to almost 500. And the big thing, which some of you may laugh at, our team certainly does, is we now will have escalators in our stadium. We never did before. We had, I think we had one or two, maybe one working elevator. Maybe one. It sometimes didn't even work. So we will now have 13 elevators now, 34 sets of escalators, which is a big improvement for us. As we dive deeper into the stadium, you can see here that we have 7 lounges. All of them have been titled. 6 clubs and 1 lounge. All of them, all 7 have been titled. Premium suites, we've grown from 87 to 131. All have been sold on the suites with the exception of about 5 or 6. And club seats. We really didn't have club seats before. I mean, there were about 250 that we could count as club seats. They were more of a modified version of club seats, and we now have 8,200. And when it comes to club seats and ticket sales, we are 94% sold. Our video board, though, is one of the biggest wow factors. Inspired by what the Cowboys did, and we love what they've done inside their stadium, we took a look at what we could do for video boards and not necessarily duplicate, but more be inspired by. And so we went bigger. We are now we have 2 boards. In our west end zone, we've got a board that's about 150 feet from corner to corner, and in the east end zone, we have a board that's a tad smaller. It's about 115 feet from corner to corner. These will be high-definition video boards, and in the 4 corners, there will be permanent logos for the founding partners. Also, while we stay inside the stadium, we'll have 2 team stores, and then we'll have at least a half dozen pop-up retail locations. But what we are doing, which has not been publicly announced yet, is we are building something that is more experiential in the stadium called the Voyage. And this will resemble something along the lines of a Hall of Fame, a museum, but going with what we are drawn to today with technology and experiential elements, it will have more of a feel to it. And there'll be more to come on that. We're going to do an official debut of that within the next month or so. And in terms of the height of the stadium, if you were ever downtown Minneapolis, this is one of the biggest exterior wow factors. The highest point at our old home was about 180 feet through the center of the building. And now, as you can see with this illustration here, we have a stadium that is not a domed roof, but we have a stadium that has more of an angular line to the roof, and that's because of what you can imagine, our weather. And so we had to design the roof to weather the 100-year storm, in fact. And this roof has a slope to it that is quite dramatic that will allow the snow to slide off the roof. And the roof material itself is split between a solid deck, and the south side of the stadium is a clear ETFE roof. ETFE is a copolymer. It was created by the space industry, and it resists corrosion and strong temperature changes much better than glass. If you watch the Beijing Olympics, it was used there on the water cube and on the aquatic center. And what's really great about this ETFE, also known as ethylene tetrafluoroethylene, is that you can apply a fritting to it, small little dots that will help block out the UV rays. But this clear roof has been intentionally put on the south side of the stadium so that we could capture and take in as much sunlight as we possibly can. And so for the most part, with this clear roof on the south side of the stadium, with a noontime start, we will have a sun-filled field. We didn't have to do the clear across the entire stadium. But the height of the building is really what's the showstopper. At its highest point, this prow, P-R-O-W, we call this on the west side, it stands just about 275 feet tall. So it's quite a dramatic entrance. And on that prow, we will have a trapezoidal-shaped video board. The video board itself will be a 16:9 ratio, but the actual shape of it, the exterior part of it, is more trapezoidal. But it's about 3,000 square feet. So we'll have a cool technology piece on the exterior of the stadium. In terms of the Creative Council, this was a really important part that we built early on in the process. And this was under great advice from the Cowboys and the 49ers and Infinite Scale for that matter. And that was create a council, create a committee that has representatives from all the stakeholders and allow everybody to weigh in. And you might think at first that that could be daunting and might be a hot mess for so many opinions at once. But it really has allowed us to make the best decisions, to be transparent, and really to get everybody's opinion that's in the room. And so these 6 areas here have had individuals at a seat at the table. Architecture-wise, it's HKS. The team, it's our side. The region, that's the MSFA, so our stadium partner is the MSFA. And the venue theme, so what's the design element? The target audience, who are the fans, and lastly the partners. And mainly the partners here that have a seat at the table are the founding partners and naming rights. So all of these groups make up our Creative Council. Our brand has really, really resonated in the stadium, and we hope that when you come to US Bank Stadium and you have an opportunity to walk through it and you see the partner activation and you see even the team activation, it will feel different to you. One thing that we said earlier on was we want everybody when they come to US Bank Stadium to know they're in Minnesota and to know they're at a Viking stadium. And so what we did was we created this team brand template, and our director of marketing, our director of brand, as well as our VP of brand spent a lot of time identifying what are our 3 words here that we always want to make sure we're hitting with whatever we're doing, and as well as our partners. And so we had quite a substantial presentation to each of our partners, significant, founding, and naming rights, and shared with them really what our philosophy here is on the team brand. And we asked them at all times if you could hit at least 2 or all 3 of these words in the decisions that you're making, then we're going to be on brand. We're going to hit it on every single decision that we make. And so for the Vikings, and you may have these for your team as well, for the Vikings, our words are relentless, unifying, and innovative. And it's these 3 identifiers that have helped shape us and helped pointed us in the right direction for making a lot of the design decisions. Our partners. And so our first partner, as everybody knows, is US Bank. We're delighted and we're proud to call our stadium US Bank Stadium. And then we have our group of 8 founding partners. And we're showing you 6 names here, but all 8 have been confirmed. We are finalizing, we're doing the red lines basically on the other 2. We'll announce those probably this month. But what's special about these founding partners is for the most part, they are Minnesota-based companies, with the exception of Miller Coors. But Miller Coors does have a substantial presence here in the Midwest, as you know. But these other brands, with the exception of CenturyLink too, but these are Fortune 500s here in the Twin Cities and not traditional sports partners, which has been interesting and which has actually been refreshing for us as we've been developing and activating their brands, because we are their first. This is the first founding partnership that Land O'Lakes has done, or that Pantera has done, and that Polaris has done. And so we will be showcasing for them a lot of the innovation that is behind their companies, and each of these founding partners will either have their name on a club or on a gate, or their product will have a substantial integration into the stadium. The next row of partners are what we call our significant partners. And these partners as well have their name on a club or on a gate, but that have a smaller investment level than what the founding partners do. The founding partners I'll add as well are commitments that are 10 years in commitment. And these significant partners are 7-year commitments and up. And these other partners here, these other ones that we say announcement coming, these 6, also are complete and are done, and they will be announced here probably in the next 6 weeks. And so this makes up our family of brands. And we're blessed to say that we have all of our clubs, all of our gates, and the stadium now sold. And this is what it looks like. And so this is your aerial view. The gates themselves will be very pure in their name. There will be no A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 attached to them. They will be, as you're seeing them here, the Ecolab gate, or the Pentair gate, or the Polaris gate. The clubs as well will have purely the sponsor name to the club. And this was a difficult decision for us because all of these clubs had other working titles. And you can see what the original ones were here in the purple. The purple show the ones that we have not announced yet, by the way, and the white show the ones that are announced. But the East is sold, the East Gate is sold, and so are the other 3 clubs inside the stadium. But with the help of Infinite Scale, they've given us this great overlay so that you can have a visual of where everything lays out. And one decision that we made here, and you'll see, this might pop out to you, is on the west side where we have Medtronic Plaza, we have Legacy Gate. And you might be thinking that's in white, so that means it's sold. This was a gate we made the decision to not sell. And the reason for that was because our stadium name is US Bank Stadium, and US Bank has quite a bold sign on that west prow, that west entry. And that is the Medtronic Plaza. And so we felt like adding a third partner at this entry was going to be too much. And legacy is an iconic word for the Vikings that we use in many different areas, whether we're describing our season ticket owners or we're describing some of the special projects that exist with our stadium, such as our legacy bricks, our fan bricks, or our sculpture that we're building here on the southwest corner of the plaza called the Legacy Ship. And so we decided that we will keep this gate sacred and pure, and we will keep the name as the Legacy Gate. And so in terms of the partners' activation inside, each partner, as it relates to their gate and to their club, have a designated area. And we've done our best to keep equity amongst those areas. So whether the partner at the gates will receive a reception desk, they might get 2 columns, they may get 1 activation wall. We've done our best at keeping that as synchronized as we could. So that's your look inside the stadium. I hope I haven't run through that too fast, but wanted to keep my time here down so the other panelists have a good amount of time as well.
That was great. Tanya, thank you very much. If I may ask a couple of questions, one of the things that I believe from having seen it, you didn't mention it in your presentation, but doesn't one of the walls open up? I mean, is there an opportunity? You mentioned it's covered, the stadium is covered, but I thought one of the walls will actually pop open.
No, Albie, you want to go to the front page?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that question. That was one of the most popular questions we had when we were designing the stadium, actually, was, will you have a retractable roof, or will you have any retractable element at all to the stadium? The answer is no. And thank you. This is the perfect slide. We decided to not go with any retractable elements. What we decided to go with were the world's largest glass pivoting doors. And that's what you see here at the west entry, the Legacy Gate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so the tallest door here is 95 feet tall. They're 55 feet wide. They slope down slightly to 75 feet tall. And these doors, yes, we can leave these doors out open and they will give the feel of a retractable wall. Right. But they are not wall. It's not a wall. They are doors. And then, as you might be thinking, this is Minnesota, and how can you keep those doors open all the time? There are doors within these doors. And so on the strong weather days, we will have these doors closed, and we can use the entry with the doors within the doors. So no retractable element.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and I know a lot of us heard about the glass, and you ran into some initial concerns very early on with the birds. Yes, bring us up to speed. We had heard about birds when this first went up. All of a sudden, birds were flying into the glass, and that created some problems.
Yeah, and to clarify, where that concern is it's not to do with the roof. It is to do with this image that you're seeing here. It's the clear story glass above the glass pivoting doors. And so to address that concern, we have been working with 3M, Minnesota-based company, and we've been working with them on a film that we can apply to this glass that will be visible to a bird's eye only, and that will help them see the glass before they get too close to it. But when you're at the stadium, what's been surprising to people is how reflective this glass is, and that's actually also helped us in that concern of birds potentially hitting this glass. This topic is not a new one for people here in Minnesota. One of the other unique features that we have here in Minnesota are skyways. And so the skyways are on the sides clear story glass as well. And so we've got lots of treatments that we can add to this glass that will help us.
Now, a question that I wanted to ask, because you brought it up, the skyways. Minnesota is legendary for, you can, especially when the weather gets cold, you can navigate from one side of the city to the other side and never actually go outside. They're legendary skyways that you have. From what I understand, will that extend to the new stadium?
Yeah, yep, you're absolutely right. So we have built a 400-foot skyway that will attach on the, if you're looking at the screen right now, it attaches to the left side, and this connects our stadium to the entire downtown skyway system. Here in the Twin Cities, we have 8 miles of skyways. So you can literally hop on the skyway and take it all the way downtown to the convention center without stepping outside. So yes, this stadium will be fully connected to the downtown via skyway.
And then also, I know from having been out there a couple of times in the last 6-8 months, that you have light rail that is really great and will drop you right here in front of the stadium. So getting people in and getting them out, like you said, skyways, parking, the highways being very conducive to where the new facility is being built, and also the light rail seems to be working out very well.
Yeah, in fact, this image here, you could assume that you're standing on the light rail transit stop, on the train stop right there. US Bank Stadium station is right in front of the Legacy Gate. And it's definitely going to help with our fans in using the transit system to get to the stadium. We know already of our 66,000, well, when we were playing at TCF Bank Stadium at the University of Minnesota, we had about 15,000 of our fans that took transit to our game. So being in an urban setting, this was one area that had to be bulletproof, locked up, that this was something that worked well. And because the stadium is on the original property of our old home, we're very fortunate in having the transit stop right in front of the stadium. And these trains run on game day every 90 seconds.
Wow, all right. And one final question, and thank you very much for letting us in. If anybody has questions at the end, please by all means let us know. But just kind of from 35,000 feet, now looking back on this as you do, what's one thing that maybe caught you by surprise, or something that you'll walk away, that aha moment from this entire building a new facility, putting in new partners? What was that one thing, that word of advice, if you were to give it to somebody else, what would that be?
I would say it's involve as many as you can in making the decisions. We've had so many incredible ideas come from people that you wouldn't think, or you wouldn't imagine giving them a seat at the table. And so being inclusive like that and giving absolutely everybody an opportunity to weigh in has been one part that we've been very fortunate and thankful that we have. And it can be anybody from somebody in the ticket office to an EA, to somebody that's on the architectural team, because everybody has a touch point with our fans, and everybody has been able to weigh in and say that this will add the wow factor, and this is what will resonate with fans more. So not to make assumptions that certain groups know everything, but to try and allow everyone to have a chance to give input.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And of course, we're looking forward to being up there next February for those of you who hopefully will make your forum plans and actually get to see this live and in person, if you would, as we will be up there with the forum next year. So thank you very much. And that was Tanya Drizen, and I want to thank you. And I'm going to move along with an eye on the clock. I've got Evan Karasik is up next. Evan, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of you who are part of the forum, you certainly know Evan very, very well. I think this last forum, I don't know, I'm a little bit of the historian here, I think it was his 11th. So he's moving on towards his 15th year. But Evan has been part and parcel of the forum for so many years, going back to really to the infancy of their company, because they started in 1998. Also, like Tanya, a fellow Canadian, Evan is out of Toronto. and but really been known, for those of us who know Evan, his company very much on the cutting edge of technology with a decided marketing bent to it. The things that they've been able to help a lot of us with and I'm not going to steal Evan's thunder. He's going to talk a little bit about it. So with that said, they have over 170 sports clients, so you know they're certainly well integrated into our industry, and they do a terrific job. So, Evan, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you take it from here.
Perfect, Ron. Thank you so much. And just like Tanya said, I don't feel so deserving, but thank you. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit more to do with how to reach your audience versus just the product itself. We've been working in this business for a very long time, like Ron said, 18 years. And what we found through working in this business is we've become somewhat of a, I guess you could say, a right hand or a right arm to a lot of different sports properties across the U.S. and Canada, taking their marketing ideas and bringing them to life. Because we, as a digital marketing agency, we don't tend to come up with necessarily the ideas or the campaigns that a team wants to do, but we make it come to fruition. So we built our business on not telling our clients what they need, but our clients telling us what they need. So we really are almost like employees of the different teams that we work for. And out of that, over the years, we've adapted and created multiple different platforms and products and services to market to all the different cities across the U.S. and Canada the way that teams want to. They'll come to us and they'll say, we have a 50th anniversary, or we have something coming up and we have this idea, can you make it happen? And that's where we come into play. But the bent with us is we're only digital. So we don't create physical spaces whatsoever. Everything we do is digital, and thankfully, since we started the company way back when, things have gone quite exponentially digital in not just sports but everywhere in marketing. So without further ado, I'm going to actually, Alvi, I'm just going to direct you to go through each slide as I tell you. So if you can just go to the next slide. Some of you guys watch House of Cards. I don't, but I thought this was a fitting slide. In 1998, when we started the company, this is how sponsorship sponsorship materials were being presented. Our first client was the Vancouver Canucks, and they showed us that they would print out a giant flip chart and bring an easel in, and they would flip the pages one by one. And this is before the web. This is before any form of digital was created. And I had a friend that worked at the Vancouver Canucks, and he said, you know what, this is really crazy. I'm sure, Evan, you and I can figure out some way to help sports teams market, and thus began Channel One. So we decided to create, Alvi, next slide, the very first in professional sports CD-ROM. Now that looks like a pretty modern piece of equipment. I'm sure you've all seen one of those. That was a CD-ROM. That was the very first CD that we created for professional sports to market their ticket sales and ultimately partnership marketing sales. The Vancouver Canucks took this on in 1999, and unbeknownst to us, it became quite a hit. They took it to the NHL marketing meetings in '99, and next thing you know, we got phone calls from many other teams, including the LA Kings, Nashville Predators, Columbus Blue Jackets, Chicago Blackhawks, and on. And we started creating these CD-ROMs. And it was going really, really well, and then all of a sudden, in 2001, the web became very prevalent. So we decided, well, we need to adapt, and that's what part of this session is about. It's about adapting in marketing and invent new ways to market. We created the very first, next slide please, e-brochure. We coined that name with a gentleman by the name of Scott Loft, who now works with the Oklahoma City Thunder. In 2000, I think it was in 99 or 2000, we created that term, e-brochure. We just put an E in front of the word brochure and got rid of their print brochures and started doing stuff on the internet. It was working very, very well, but the problem that we were dealing with back then was people were on dial-up modems. So there was a difficult way of getting the information across quickly. But we, over the years, speeds of internet became faster, and people got faster Ethernet cables and whatnot. And so we had to think of, okay, what's next? So if you go to the next slide, we decided to now not invent, but get involved with something that was new back in the early 2000s called viral marketing. So we would create these e-brochures, which the teams would blast out to as many fans as possible, but they weren't getting enough stickiness. So we created this with our clients, stickiness, and that was create a contest online that prospects would enter their friends into, and the people that entered the most names, most friends, would be eligible to win a prize. Now, the most significant prize we gave away was with the Dallas Stars, a trip on team plane. And out of that campaign came tens, or not maybe not tens, but several thousand entries. And the Dallas Stars then, this is the fun part, took all of the names of the friends and marketed to them directly. Now, we did that with all of our teams. We would get all the forwarded friends' names, and we would give it to the team, and the team would then just use that as leads. And it was great because they were closing deals left, right, and center. But shortly after that, it became illegal because you can't take names of people who haven't opted in because of can-spam laws and market to them. So we had to go to a next type of marketing, which is next slide. Something that we didn't term this, of course. It's called VoIP. And what this was an e-brochure that was sent out to renewal clients, where the team president or the general manager of the team would actually call you on your cell phone, pre-recorded, from the piece itself, which was kind of pretty innovative at the time. And your cell phone would ring in the middle of the piece. You pick it up, and there's the general manager talking to you about how he feels you should renew your tickets. But the coolest part of this process was, in the middle of his speech, he would say to you, push 5 on your cell phone, and if you pushed 5 on your cell phone, your rep would pick up on the other end of the phone. So needless to say, they closed a ton of deals when we did these for clients. If you go on to the next slide, once we got past VoIP, we started to produce a lot of personalization because we felt, and we learned from the clients, that the closing ratio was increasing if you were able to get into the client's heart, so to speak, make them feel special. So we started including personalization with all the e-brochures we were developing. So your name would appear on the back of a jersey. You could share that jersey. You could, through social media outlets, you could post it to Facebook or Twitter. You could forward this to your friends to show them how your name is on the back of a jersey, and they can also sign up for tickets and yada, yada, yada. So it became very personal, and we realized, well, this is the sort of next level. You need to get inside the client's head and make them feel good about themselves. So that takes me to the next slide. We started doing that not only with your name on your jersey, but we started doing that on your logo on inventory. So of course, with all of our partnership marketing clients, we now take the logos of the prospect, and it gets plastered all over all of the inventory that's available for sale throughout. So you can see here, and I'm going to show you a few more slides in the future, that we just pulled, and literally with our system, which I'll explain in a few minutes, called ePitch, you're able to take a client's logo from the web, and it automatically gets plastered all over all of the inventory, making it very impactful when guys like Eric or Tanya are sending presentations out to their prospects. Okay, past that, personalization, we got heavily involved with touchscreen applications. So if you go to the next screen. Most of the new stadiums that are going up in the U.S. have sales centers, and I know that Tanya has an amazing sales center, and of course the Cowboys had a beautiful sales center, and we do a lot of these sales centers. We don't produce the actual sales center themselves, but we create the digital sales and marketing materials that live inside sales center. So this is a piece that we did for the Atlanta Falcons, and what we found, and this is kind of a neat story, is the more, and you guys could probably relate to this, the more you can get a prospect involved with all of their senses, the greater chance they are of buying something. And many years ago, I sold pianos. And when I sold pianos, the easiest way to sell a piano is to sit down and play it, and then bring the client to the piano to sit on the bench next to you and have them play it, even if they don't know how to play, because they're going to get a full body experience. In fact, I would actually, on a grand piano, lift up the lid, and I would take them over to the edge of the piano. I'd have them stick their head in the piano and smell it. I know it sounds crazy, but similar to cars have new car smell and houses have new house smell, pianos have new piano smell. And when you can get all their senses involved, there's a greater chance of the close. So when we started creating these touchscreen presentations, we found that not only do we tell reps to use them, of course, in the sales centers, but to encourage the prospect to touch the screen. And it's amazing how much more connected the prospect will feel with you when they're involved. So if you go to the next screen, you'll see what we started to do is inside here, not only do we have a touch and you can play and zoom in on everything, but on the right-hand side, that's actually a video where we take a 3D still and then integrate people shot against a green screen inside the actual presentation, which looks very, very cool. The next screen is going to show you something that Eric's going to recognize. This is a touchscreen application we did for the STAR. So maybe Eric will speak to it, but not to take any thunder away from his presentation, but this is one of the renderings I believe that we were provided with for his presentation, and maybe Eric could speak to how they use this touchscreen presentation to help them sell as well. Beyond touchscreen presentations, we now get involved with apps. So if you go into the next screen. Our company was fortunate enough to produce the official app for the Super Bowl this year in San Francisco. So we worked with the NFL and we worked with the Super Bowl committee creating the first official Super Bowl app that was used at Super Bowl City down in downtown San Fran. But the neat thing I want to show you about this is if you think about the beginning of what we used to do back in CD-ROMs and then e-brochures and then personalization, now we're getting up to really cool technology. Because in this particular one, you can look at the upper right, that is a QR code, and when the client would take their app and they would go downtown San Francisco and tap on it, it would open up a QR code, and they could go up to any station, like for instance the NFL Experience had different booths, and you can go in there, hold your phone up to a scanner, it would scan your QR code, and then any interactions you had in that booth, be it photographs with a player or whatnot, would get uploaded to the app and you would be able to share that on social media. Also, the app was filled with beacons, so another great form of marketing, beacons as well as any form of push notification. So anytime you were walking in downtown San Francisco and walked by a beacon, your phone would beep and a message would come up telling you when the next concert was going to be happening or when the next player signing was going to occur. And that we found is really, really, really proactive in trying to market to various people at a moment's notice. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is our sales platform, which is called ePitch. And once again, like this session is about, it's about adapting and reaching multiple markets and inventing new ideas to help clients reach their markets. So, like I said, we don't create the content that the teams are marketing. All we do is help them sell it. And we try and do that in as quick and as easy way as possible. So a few years ago, we invented a product that we called ePitch. And with ePitch, right now, there's 1/3 of all professional sports teams in North America are on the ePitch system for either ticket sales or for partnership marketing. And what I've done here is I've just shown sort of a screen. No two presentations we do look alike. We have a full team of designers here, and we pride ourselves in the graphic design portion of these presentations. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what ePitch is and how it works. So that screen you're looking at right now is a typical cover page of an interactive sales presentation that a partnership marketing rep would send out. So if I go to the next screen, and I'm going to show you how the back end works, how we create an ePitch presentation. So when say a team like, in this particular case, the Texas Rangers. So if Eric ran across the street, he would see the guys using this over the Texas Rangers. They have a screen here where they can each log in with their email and a password. Once they get past that, they're able to, can you get into the next screen? Yeah, once they get past that, you can create a presentation very easily. So you would put in the name of the client you're presenting to, their position, as you see here, Ron Seaver is the Doctor of Love, National Sports Forum, email address, and we have our own little mini CRM in this system which allows you to put in a dollar value for how much the proposal is, and then below it you'll see under status you can either have a pending deal, a closed deal, or a dormant deal. Then you would go on the web and upload a logo, and once you upload a logo, it actually is taking the logo and plastering it throughout all of the inventory inside the presentation itself. So we'll go to the next screen. So over here you could see a list of all the inventory that a partnership marketing department would have. On the left-hand side you can see there's folders. You can open up the folders and then they would go into subfolders. So under sponsorship, for instance, there's over 100 pieces of inventory that's in there. On the right-hand side you can see there's green and gray. You can tick things and make them on and off depending on what you're proposing to a prospect. And if we go to the next section, you'll see that the up and down arrows will enable you to move different sections in or around other sections. So if I wanted hospitality to be ahead of sponsorship, I just click the arrow and it goes in front of it. Next screen. So Also, what's neat about this system is it allows the rep to create a customized page anywhere throughout the entire presentation. So not only can a rep go into ePitch in the morning, they have a prospect in there and they know that they got to get a presentation out in the afternoon. They can go into ePitch, create a new presentation, and they can go through any piece of inventory throughout the entire presentation, turn off and on what they want, and then go into the stuff that they want on and customize it further. So if you have a particular sign that you wanted to get a little more information off to the prospect, you can type more content into that sign. And throughout the entire presentation, you can create custom pages. So in this particular case, if you go back a screen, you can create a custom proposal page, for instance. So here what I've done is, just for fun, I created a simple proposal page for Ron, and I've given a couple opportunities, package 1, package 2, and the 2 values there. So now we go to the next screen. Once you're finished creating your presentation, you're going to email it to your client. So here in our system, you would type in the email address, or you don't even have to type in the email address, you've done it before. So right now you literally just type in the copy that you want to send, and once you would send mail, we took this from our clients. They told us they wanted it done this way. When you click send mail, it actually takes the copy you've put in the system and populates an email in your own system. So if you're with Mac Mail or you're with Outlook, it actually opens up an Outlook window, populates that whole email inside the Outlook window. And that guarantees that the email that you send off to the client shows that it comes from you. It doesn't show that it comes from our system. So when you go to the next screen, this is what it looks like ultimately. The client gets a cover page. Their logo is on the left, your logo is on the right. Whoever you're presenting to is right in the middle, has their position, and you can navigate by just using your arrow key. So when the client gets it, they literally can just click their arrow key, just like a PowerPoint would work. So if you push the next screen, you'll see now we get into the nitty-gritty of the presentation. Like I said earlier, we pride ourselves on our graphic design, and so we produce a lot of infographics and whatnot, and we work with various teams, and they give us their info, and we make it look pretty. So here's the first screen talks a little bit about the history. Then we'll go to the next screen. Fan affinity stats. So pretty much every presentation that we've heard that our clients are producing have 3 parts. The first part is the history or general information on the team. The second part is the inventory that they want to propose, and then the third part is a written proposal. And so we've structured our piece like that as well. You can create it in any order you wish with our stuff. So right now I've done one in a traditional order where I've got history and fan affinity. Then if you click down on the next arrow, you're going to go to the next page, which now shows you customized inventory. So here we have a home plate fixed at the back. You can see the NSF logo appears right on it. And on the right-hand side, you see it says print, and then left to it says details. So if you click on the next screen, what will happen is the details are going to pop up. Okay, and that will give you the true value of that piece of inventory or whatever copy the client wants to have in there at all. So now let's go to the next screen. Here's another example of an outfield wall and showing you the inventory, how it would be placed. Nice and clean. Next screen. This is concourse advertising. It's called a diorama, and you can see once again how nice and clean the inventory appears. And then we'll go on to the next screen. And here's our proposal page. So you saw on the back end how we created a proposal, and here it is right in front of us, right smack in the middle of the presentation itself. So you've got the package 1, the package 2, the costs, a little note saying I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Okay. Now, once the presentation is sent off to the client, they go through it. The rep can go on the back end and look at the stats, which will tell them exactly what the prospect looked at. And you can see here, most of the stuff they looked at was a second, 2 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. But at the bottom, you'll see summary, Ron, for your review, 23 seconds. That shows that my prospect, Ron, took the time to read the proposal, which is very, very important. We also can show what they looked at on. So here it says they were on a Mac, and they looked at it at 2:30 in the afternoon. So that stuff is very important, as you can imagine, because reps often, back in the day, used to blindly send a proposal and then call up the prospect and say, hey, did you look at it? Now, of course, we can track everything and see if they're actually looking at it. Okay, before you go into the next screen, I just want to explain. There's many features. This is just, as you can imagine, you might say to yourselves, okay, that's kind of cool. You can take a presentation, customize it. Great. But what makes it unique? Well, here are 3 very unique properties of this. So if we go to the next screen. Because our clients were getting away from print, we didn't create a print option. But more recently, in the past 2 years, our clients said, you know what, we still need some form of print. So what we did is we created, through Adobe, an interactive print option. So now, in the presentation, if you push the little print button, it dynamically generates a print version of the presentation. Better than that, it only creates a print version of your presentation, the one you just created with your 5 screens. Even better than that, it actually integrates the logo of the client inside the print version. So all you have to do is push print, we call it one-touch print, you push P, it generates a customized print version of the entire presentation that's made for print with proper 4:3 ratio for in 1/2x11 pages. Okay, the next thing we did, the next screen, is we base this also on our clients. Our clients say, you know what, we do a lot of GoToMeeting and we do a lot of Join Me. Is there a way you can get around that? So the Canadian government actually paid us, and we created something that we call broadcast mode. We now can present to a client from our office to their office without using Join Me and without using Citrix. Basically, we just push a button on our end that says broadcast, and we take over their system. It's fascinating, and it works very, very well. And of course, the next one is, if you go to the next slide, we now produce everything for iPad, Windows tablets, and Android tablets. So we have a license with Apple where we're able to put apps not on the App Store. So all of your reps can have a customized iPad app for themselves, granted you have iPads. And you won't need a web connection to run the actual presentation. I know I'm going to have to wrap up real quick, but I'm going to go to the next thing. But don't go to the, oh, there you are. Okay. We were also just granted a license. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's called Microsoft HoloLens. This is a holographic lens that you wear on your head that allows you to see in front of you and then interact with holographic objects in front of you. So if you go to the next slide, you'll take a look at what we're getting involved with now. So we are now able to, once we receive our HoloLens, is to develop software which will enable new venues to be sold while wearing this around their head and interact with a stadium. In fact, they'll be able to zoom in on a suite and walk into the suite and touch things and tell the rep, hey, I want my fridge over on this side, or I don't want this, these types of countertops, I want a different type of countertop. So we're getting involved with that, and I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Dustin Bakari over at the Atlanta Falcons, because he was the one that put us onto this. We had already applied for a license, and we had received it just as he had called, saying, us at the Falcons want to be the first guinea pig of this product. So there you have it. That is, those are the things that Channel 1's involved with. Sorry I went a little bit over on the time. Eric, I don't mean to take away from you at all. And there you have it.
But I thank you very much, Evan, and to your point there, great information. Certainly feel free to reach out to Evan at Channel 1 Media for any further information on that. But without further ado, with an eye on the time, we'll go a little bit long here. I hope you guys don't mind. We've got a great turnout. I see everybody staying with us, and you're going to be very, very thankful that you did, because our next presenter, just as I mentioned, absolutely slated at the forum in Portland, and that's Eric Sudol, the Vice President of Corporate Partnership, Sales, and Service for the Dallas Cowboys, who's going to be taking us behind the scenes in what they're doing. Just a real quick intro on Eric. I first met him. He was with the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Cowboys scooped him up back in 2007. Initially brought him in to handle business suite sales for AT&T Stadium, but then after 5+ years of really breaking revenues in the industry, they moved him on into the sponsorship department, where Eric now he oversees 18 corporate sales and service department employees at the Cowboys, and that they are continuing to lead the NFL in sponsorship revenue. So he's going to be talking about something very interesting, very innovative, a great bookend to what Tanya was talking about, but a new facility that the Cowboys are launching. So Eric, without further ado, let me turn the floor over to you, my friend.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ron. Tanya, remarkable stadium. I can't wait to come visit. And Evan, obviously you do great work, and we've used you many times throughout the years. Well, my goal is that by 2:01 we are complete, so I'm going to give the Reader's Digest version here to be cognizant of everyone's time. But we are thrilled to be embarking on a new project, which is, kind of the next step in our brand evolution. And I know we sit here and focus on the brand today. The Star started as our training facility, where the team works out and where we office, and has morphed into so much more really over the past 18 months, the project that's come on us very quickly. But a brief background, we believe, at least what we can find out there, it's the first partnership ever with an independent academic, school district, and a city. So amateur competition and pro sports are going to be closely aligned. But you see right there in front of you kind of the 26 of a 91-acre development, which houses obviously our offices. We also lease out office space as well as the 12,000-seat Ford Center that we will get into here a little bit. Moving ahead. So as the overall brand theme of what we're trying to do here, I think as we were building AT&T Stadium and we started to see kind of the demand for our tour business of people, 400,000 people a year continuing to buy tour tickets to really see the facility and have access to things when nothing was going on. We really believe that we could engage our fans and give them something more that they would gravitate to it. Obviously, the more access we give them, the more loyalty that is built, and obviously the stronger our fan base now and into the future, and of course even into our younger fan base as well, which is important to all teams and clubs. So the overall mission and theme of the Star is exactly what you see in front of you. Throughout the whole 91-acre development, we want to create experiences that allow our folks, our sponsors, and everyone to experience the Cowboys in ways they've never imagined. That helps our sponsors obviously create a year-round destination as well. Once again, our theme going forward is 355 days a year. Of course, naturally let everyone to say what the heck's 355 mean. And obviously, we're trying to create that same level of engagement we do at AT&T Stadium at Cowboys games all throughout the year with the Cowboys brand. I'll be moving ahead real quick. So when we built the Star, there's kind of so much going on there. Like, how do we really focus in and hone in from a brand standpoint about what we want to be and what we want to stand for? We had the same type of philosophy when we were building AT&T Stadium on some pillars that, hey, it had to fit in this particular pillar in order for us to proceed. So we did the same thing with the Star, and the 5 pillars that you see are those right there in front of you. What I want to do with you briefly today, just from our brand standpoint, is walk through some aspects of what we did that aligns with those respective pillars. Now, you'll see from many of the things that we talk about, and I'm only going to scratch the surface of a few, is that they really fall into all of the buckets. Many of them do, but I kind of categorized it where it most closely aligns. And engagement, as you saw from our mission statement, is the top priority. So if we move ahead. Thanks, Albie. We'll get into that, but I do want to give a quick overview briefly of the entire development. So Block C, up in the upper left-hand corner there, is our headquarters, the Ford Center, this Omni Hotel that we're building, as well as a fitness gym. It's also where the Cowboys Club is housed, which you may have seen that in the news recently. The B2 block, kind of in the lower left, is our retail and entertainment district. The A1 block is a medical district, and the A2 block is actually some future development that we're holding. So we'll come back to that if we need it, but it's just a little lay of the land. The first pillar on engagement, right? We want, when we were building AT&T Stadium, we actually had a place to build a Hall of Fame. We ended up not doing it. We had some future plans with that place. So we look at this entire complex as our Hall of Fame. So the Cowboys brand and thematic is throughout the entire development. One case in point of engagement, right, and how we tie sponsors to it, literally lining the retail streets, you'll see these raised abstract numbers of our Ring of Honor members. Obviously, many teams have such a, ring or fame or whatever the situation may be. But how do we create with our sponsors engagement stats, whether that's augmented reality, whatever we have, but literally ways to differentiate, so no matter where you are the entire development, you have the Cowboys theme in history. That's one example. Moving forward from an engagement standpoint on the next slide, our Plaza. Our Plaza, we want to make it different than any other plaza out there. We see a lot of plazas, but we're literally putting in another field. So this may house a Pee Wee football game on a Saturday morning. It becomes town hall. It becomes the heartbeat of this campus. It's where Friday night concert series take place, where we'll probably hire someone to literally program and activate this plaza. And we also create a kind of an immersive digital experience to create a deeper level of engagement in there. Case in point on the next slide, literally flanking this plaza, we're creating these interactive digital beacons. So if a little boy or girl goes up and they want to throw a football against Tony Romo or whatever type of games and interaction we create, we're using a creative agency that's really helps us with these. Once again, a way for deeper level engagement, whether that's social interaction and data integration for our sponsors. And then moving along as well, we're going to take our people behind the scenes. We're going to have tours that on off days go into the locker room. We're going to have tours that go by the war room. that go by into our weight room. And if you take it even a step further, the war room it's not going to be just, a cardboard, a table where people sit around and make decisions. We said, how can we step that up and, and create kind of a digital wall experience and let people from a hospitality point use that, and whether that's having fantasy football drafts. And then the last piece, throughout the entire development, both for our sponsors as well as for our brand, we have an immersive digital showcase. Whether you're sitting in the restaurants, you're walking the retail streets, you're on the tollway, or whatever, we have branding opportunities that will run, obviously, Cowboys content for our brand, but also sponsor content. Second pillar on performance, at the end of the day, this is where our team trains. We will have a portion of our training camp there. So that's really why that pillar exists, because it's the crux of how this whole development started. I'll be push ahead real quick. Health and wellness. There's a lot going on in health and wellness, and I talked a little bit about the medical district that will be going in one of those quadrants. But we did form a unique partnership with the founder of 24 Hour Fitness to develop kind of the first ever NFL-themed fitness gym. It's about 37,000 square feet. It's actually flanking that plaza, so it's really in the heartbeat of the campus. Once again, ties into engagement, so you see kind of those garage-style doors opening with, workout coming out into the plaza, whether that's a spin class or a yoga class. So health and wellness throughout, and that's one example of many of another one of the themes and what's important to our brand. Amateur competition, I think very important for obviously all of us in the NFL in particular, in any club for that matter, right? We've got to have the young folks engaged in our sports. This will, with the city, be the home to Frisco high school games, and most games, obviously the school district is so large they've got to play at other places periodically. It is the nicest high school stadium, I think, out there. It's very impressive. It's 700,000 square feet, which is only 200,000 square feet smaller than our old Texas Stadium. In addition to the high school games, it'll house band competitions, cheer competitions, soccer, etc. And then the last piece, moving kind of entertainment, right? We're all in the entertainment business. So how can we take the Cowboys brand or fabric, sprinkle it across multiple things? Obviously, we have a mixed use as well. That's obviously a little bit separate, but a part of the entire complex. That's going to be home to about 18 to 20 restaurants that you see kind of flanking those parking garages. But then we also got into the hotel business, right? As we thought about what the Ford Center is, all the space that we have that we could rent out for. We realized we're in the convention business. And to be successful in the convention business, you need a hotel. It's a 300-room, 4-star hotel. And the Omni Hotel connects into the Ford Center and connects all the way through our headquarters, a little bit of a mini skywalk in Dallas, if you will. We talked a little bit about the facility usage and being in the convention business, but now how do we take our war room? How do we take our team auditorium? How do we take our team in a cafeteria and those spaces on non-event or when they're not being used and monetize them so a company can have an exclusive, differentiated experience, staying in the hotel, meeting in the war room, spilled out into the entertainment district, as an example. And lastly, you've seen a little bit about this, but the Cowboys Club was, where the NFL and a country club met. We made this 300-person, part lounge, part dining facility with glass seating overlooking practice. And Albie, if you go ahead one slide, jump ahead one more slide, you'll see it's very impressively done of the architect and design group that did it. Our goal was to sell 800 memberships. I'm pleased to say that we did that, and we are on a wait list. But an opportunity to have a lunch setting or a happy hour setting with a business associate in once again, a non-common, something you can't typically buy off the retail shelves type of experience. And one more. 204. Didn't make it, but thank you.
I've got to say, that was incredible. But again, apologies to you because
no apologies. I like going quick, actually.
It was incredible, you guys. I mean, what you just did. Thank you, taking us very quickly through this concept of what you have built there. Looking back over it, again, I asked Tanya the same question. What you know now versus if you were going to give somebody a piece of advice. Of how you would maybe do this the same or differently, what would that be?
Ron, are you talking to me?
Yes, please, Eric.
Well, I think obviously we all know hindsight's always 20/20. I would say this. I'm not sure I'd do a lot differently, currently, and it's hard to answer that sometimes until it's really open. I will say this: when we were building AT&T Stadium, the moment the Joneses bought the Cowboys, they knew there was going to be another stadium, so they spent years kind of looking at things and the inspiration behind the video board and some of the art and architecture. This project has come on us very quickly, and we pay great attention to detail. But I would say just in general, I feel like we're moving much quicker. But I don't necessarily, at this time, I can't say right now we've done anything differently. Now, come August when the doors open, or September, I have a feeling I'll have a decent list for you.
Now, who are you opening with? I mean, when the opening happens, is it a concert? Is there an event? How is that?
So the city of Frisco has currently 8 high schools. They're growing rapidly en route to many more, and obviously, giving our alliance and association partnership with them, we'll be opening with 4 high school games. All 8 of those teams will play on the 27th of August.
Just incredible. You guys have just done amazing work down there, and certainly congrats. I mean, I'm looking at this thinking you've thought of everything. I mean, from hotels on down to, I love the amateur athletics, the high schools being able to play in the facility, just how massive that facility is. And, of course, anybody who's spent any time down in Texas knows that football in Texas are synonymous. So there'll probably be games where they wish they had even more seats. Just incredible what the Cowboys have done in that community. So thank you all. Thank all of you very, very much for this. The session was recorded. We are going to be sending this out to everybody who was on the call. If you signed up for the call and you weren't able to get in, by all means, you'll be getting a copy of this as well. Feel free certainly to contact Eric, Tanya, and certainly Evan with any questions that you have. But with that, mindful of the clock, great job. I thank you all so much for joining us. And if you are interested in new ideas and you like that, go to our website at sports-forum.com. And you'll see Selling It. We'd love to get some more folks signed up. I think we've got about 5,700 subscribers across the country, and every 2 weeks we love to send out ideas just like what you've seen here. They'll come to your inbox. There's no charge for it. Happy to do it, and we just love to keep the ideas going and keep all the ideas within the family here. So please give us your feedback. Let us know, and until next month, happy March Madness. It's nice to know that today nobody's bracket is broken, but I would have asked the Canadians who they were going to pick. Evan, have you done your bracket yet? We might have lost Evan, but he's probably doing it as we speak. But with that,
I was on mute.
Oh, I'm not sure how March Madness fits, north of the border here, but down here, I think everybody's got about 3 or 4 different brackets. So, but with that said, everybody, thank you so very much. We will talk to you next month. Have a great March on into April. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow to everybody. And certainly our thanks to our guests. Terrific job today. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining us. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.